All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, Seattle Pandemonium Shutdown. This is day 158 by my count. Had to hit that rumble strip. What's going down? Well, last night, Police Chief Carmen Best, the first African-American woman of color to be our police chief, 20 some years with Seattle PD, threw in the towel. She's out. And she said it's not because of the budget cuts to their pay at the high end of the leadership team or whatever, but because of the nature of not being able to do law enforcement in the city because they're not it's been this way since before all the pandemonium, by the way. Like, go back, you watch that documentary, Seattle is Dying. We had these problems before all this pandemonium and the pandemic, but this just made it worse. Arresting people like 100 times and not keeping them locked up. People multiple times being demonstrated to be a violent menace to the population being released. So yeah, these problems existed before all this, but this thing just turned everything up to 11, I think. And with the rioting, the destruction, chaos, and certain members of the Seattle City Council basically being spineless, in my opinion. I mean, at some point, you got to come down on these clowns and stop this looting and rioting. Like, they were ransacking more stuff the other day. Destruction of property. Property rights are a thing, boys and girls. And without it, you don't have a city. Okay? If there's no enforcement of property laws, then you can't trust anyone, or you're going to have rampant vigilantism. So, yeah, pick one. Anyways, so Chief Best is out. I'm trying to understand really the logic behind her punching out. I mean, on the one hand, SPD just doesn't look very good. Like, they managed to sort of kid gloves multiple things. Like, they came down on protesters in the wrong way, caused rioting. I do kind of believe, I believe that narrative, that they overstepped and kind of triggered the backlash. The protesters do have a point, but at the point where the protesting is basically just a front for the rioting and looting that comes after, that's something that the police needed to come down hard on, and they kind of didn't. I don't know what to tell you. I feel like everybody should go home, though. We got it. we get it. Now go home, stop destroying things, stop looting from Amazon. I know they're a big company, but, like, that's one part of a neighborhood that is now destroyed, you see? They looted an Amazon store, is my understanding. And you're not getting national coverage of this, by the way. Like, Washington Post and other news outlets aren't really covering this, is my understanding. I haven't seen anything about it. Anyways, so what else? Biden, creepy Uncle Joe, picked Kamala Harris as his running mate. And, I mean, I already had the tweet. Like, the memes that already exist about her are enough to make this not viable. And what I'm seeing from some of my smart heads is that they're not even really trying to win the election. Now, I know how that sounds. It sounds kind of almost conspiratorial. You're like, what are you talking about? Why would they not want to win? Well, they want to win, but they're not really trying to win. And in fact, what they're doing is kind of giving Joe a send-off. He had his shot to become the white father, and they gotta run a woman, and they would be accused of being racist, probably, by the progressive left if it was a white woman. So it has to be a woman of color. In this case, colors, I suppose, because she's mixed of various things. Anyways, Kamala was a cop. That's the meme, anyway. We already did this, by the way. Like, Tulsi already bodied her back in the debate. I don't even remember what it was. It was just like, it was a Hawaiian roast and a pig. That's for damn sure. I have to go back and replay it. It was something about being pro-war or something. one of those ones that you can't take it back. Yeah, I think this is a bad move on their part. Biden's campaign, this is just fascinating. Like, ever since basically 2016, right? Like, I'm just watching these politicians just run these bizarre these bizarre campaigns, like, and watching the media basically run interference, like pretending that what's wrong with Joe when he's talking is that he had a stutter when he was a kid. I think I've covered this before, but it's like, that's your excuse for him, like, trailing off and not knowing how to recite, like, what, the preamble to the Constitution? or is it the Declaration of Independence? See, I'm dumb. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created, the thing. What? My God, man. And then, like, in the middle of a sentence, it just, just runs out of words. And it's just like, wow, okay. And then the media tells you that's a stutter. Okay. There is something that is deeply disturbing. And now, the same news outlets that ran all kinds of pro-Kamala stuff back when she was trying to become the nominee, right? Now, they have articles about how she says Joe Biden, had a Me Too allegation, and she believes it. Well, so do you believe it now? Like, I wanted to call this histrionics, but it's not the right term. It's it's basic. It's narrative creation, right? It's narrative repetition. You just repeat the lie, ignore the things that contradict the lie, and just kind of move forward and just act like that thing doesn't exist. That is a complete hypocrisy. And people allow the media to do this, I guess. This is the environment that we're in, right? This is the ecosystem that we're in. We're in an ecosystem of news cycles being used not to, again, fake news, right? It's not here that the news media doesn't exist to inform you of things that are happening. The news media exists in order to basically give you and politicians an excuse to do something you wanted to do anyway. I think that's basically it. They go, look at these terrible war crimes happening in Syria. We must bomb Syria immediately in order to, save Syria from itself. And then you go, oh, that's so terrible. Well, let's go do that. And the politicians are like, oh, look at this. It's terrible. We have to go to war over here and bomb these people. Okay, because you showed me some grainy video. Like they tried to do with that ship in Iran, right? They showed us some grainy video of some guys climbing onto a boat. A ship, rather. Give us this whole narrative about how the ship was attacked and it was taken over by Iranian soldiers and it's an act of war, and so we need to do something to hit Iran back. Well, none of that is true. We don't know if any of that's true. You showed me a video of some guys climbing on the side of a ship. That's it. That doesn't mean anything. That doesn't mean what you say it means anyway. I don't know if it means what you say it means. But the media manipulates us and gets us into wars, and that's just kind of a thing that happens. So, if they can get us into war, then literally everything else is on the table too. No! Stop calling me! Who calls people on the phone? Really. Unless they're a boomer or a scam, right? No one calls on the phone. Yeah, you're gonna have to wait. Oh, boy. And homeless lady is still over on the sidewalk, like she always is. What else is going down? The city is just... I don't know, man. Like Chicago, they were like looting and ransacking parts of the city. Police were basically standing down, not doing anything. Same kind of concept as here, same approach anyway. And they refused to accept National Guard. They refused to allow Trump to send in feds to help contain the chaos. And again, if you can't defend property, then how do you insure a building, right? People are saying, well, these stores have insurance, so you can loot them, it's fine. Well, it's not really fine, because you don't just get a one-to-one refund on your insurance if there's damage or something. Your premiums go up. So you're stealing from people in the future by making them pay higher insurance premiums, because you've demonstrated that you will allow things to be destroyed. Now, the people doing the destroying should be held responsible, but the city is supposed to provide that service as well. How are you supposed to insure a building if you know that it can just get taken over by protesters and stuff? And why would you want to invest in a business that can just get ransacked and everything gets stolen? I mean, I've kind of hammered on this a bunch of times. It's like, you're getting capital flight right now. The people who have left, like New York City, for example, like allegedly 500,000 people have already left. I bet it's probably more. The people who are leaving are the people who have the resources to leave. Poor people don't have the resources to just uproot and go live somewhere else, right? You gotta have that, you gotta get that rent together, or, to buy the house, whatever. Maybe you gotta have a car, you gotta at least know how to drive if you're gonna move, or you're just gonna leave all your stuff. Well, now you're gonna basically be more poor than you were, because you now have less stuff. So the people who are stuck living in the decaying hellscape are the poorer people, and the rich people are gonna bounce to the suburbs, they're gonna go to rural states, they're gonna buy a bunch of guns and some land, and they're just gonna live out their days and probably never really go back to a major city if they can avoid it. And I understand this. I understand. I could, like I said, I could bounce and get to a free zone basically immediately if I really wanted to. But life is complicated, and we don't solve problems by running away. So some of us have to stay here and fix this thing. The people who are sane, the people who know how to do work, the people who know how to contribute, need to stay and put this thing back together. And I think we need to stop listening to these deranged libs. They are too liberal. There's such a thing as too liberal. And it's Seattle, I think. I mean, it's been this way for a while. It's been this way since, again, before the pandemonium, before the pandemic. The city was decaying. You couldn't arrest people. It was getting more dangerous out here. And then the homelessness is out of control. I drove down that one night. Maybe I'll go take another drive down there. Down by the stadium, there was just the roads just lined with decaying meth lab, meth wagons. Yep. Just both sides of the street in some cases. And that's not a good look. It doesn't look like a city you want to come to. The waterfront was just, now that they tore down the viaduct, they made more open space basically, and homeless have taken that over. And it's just one of these things. Capital flight happens because people lose, I guess this is the wordage, is the utility of living in the city is gone. And what I mean is, I can't sit at the counter I can't sit at the sushi counter at Umisake House and have rolls. I can order it and pick it up and eat it out of a styrofoam box. That's not pouring hot sake out of a carafe. That's not sharing rolls with other people. That's not, that's not having a good time. Basic Epicureanness, right? You can't really engage in it. Can't see my Book of Mormon Book of Mormon got canceled, right? No sport ball, no movies, no concerts, no festivals. What's the purpose of being here with all stacked on top of all these other people, and you can't? Huh? That's weird. They had like a tow hitch on the front of that. Was that a BMW? That's weird. Anyways, I kind of been over all this stuff before. I think you all know what's coming. That's if we don't have some pretty quick, solid change relatively fast, I think. No one knows quite what's going to happen, but it doesn't look good. All right, I will talk to you guys later. Bye.